Have you ever loved something so deeply that you only allowed yourself to feel it in secret? That kind of love that blooms in the dark, quiet, hidden, but impossibly alive? For almost a decade, I carried one of those loves inside me. I was a dancer no one knew existed. I practiced behind locked doors, performing for an audience of one, my reflection. Until one birthday changed everything. Until I stopped pretending to live and finally started becoming myself. But to understand how I got here, let me take you back 9 years to the moment that started it all. My name is Luna, and this is the story of how a single spark of movement taught me who I really am. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Gender Diary family, a space for everyone exploring identity, transformation, and authenticity. And tell me in the comments, where are you watching from, and what time is it there? I love seeing how far our little community reaches. I was 16, an age where the world feels both endless and terrifyingly small. It was a lazy Sunday morning, sunlight spilling through the curtains, the smell of breakfast in the air, and the TV playing softly in the background. Then she appeared, a belly dancer. The screen burst into color, deep purples, golden shimmer, and silks that moved like water. The music wrapped around me, drums, strings, rhythms that felt ancient and alive. But it wasn't just the sound or the costume that captured me. It was the movement, the way her hips rolled in slow, perfect circles, the way her arms floated as if they belonged to the wind. Something in me clicked. My heart was racing, not from embarrassment, but recognition. Like my body whispered, This is something you need to feel." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I replayed every moment in my head over and over until it became a kind of secret heartbeat. That's when my secret began. I started watching tutorials online, quietly, learning the history, the basics, the art of belly dance, all while keeping the volume low, door locked, lights dim. My first attempts were awkward, my body clumsy, but something inside me was awake. Each time I practiced, I felt pieces of myself falling into place. Pieces I didn't know were missing. It wasn't just about learning a dance, it was about unlearning everything I'd been told I had to be. When I danced, I wasn't Luna the sun or Luna the friend. I was just me, fluid, free, whole. By 19, my secret practice had become a ritual. Late nights, low lights, a soft scarf tied around my hips, and a playlist of haunting Arabic melodies that made my heart ache in the most beautiful way. Each roll, each shimmer, each wave through my body felt like a conversation between who I was told to be and who I truly was. But still, it was private, a sacred thing between me and my mirror. Because how do you explain that when you move your body this way? You don't feel like you're pretending. You feel like you're finally being real. Then, at 25, Stephanie came into my life. Warm, intuitive, and radiant. The kind of person who makes you feel seen without saying a word. We fell into love the way some songs fade in. Slow, natural, inevitable. One evening, we were cooking together when one of my favorite belly dance songs came on. Without thinking, my hips began to sway. She noticed immediately. "Do you dance?" she asked. And for the first time, I told someone the truth. I belly dance, but only in private. I expected confusion, maybe judgment. But she just smiled and said, "Will you show me?" So I did. I let the music take me. I danced the way I did when no one was watching, with freedom, with grace, with everything I'd hidden for years. When the song ended, Stephanie looked at me with tears in her eyes and whispered, "You look more yourself when you move." That moment changed everything. On my next birthday, Stephanie told me to get dressed, something comfy, she said. We drove to a small theater I'd never seen before. The marquee read, "International Belly Dance Showcase, one night only." My heart stopped. As the lights dimmed and the music filled the room, I watched dancer after dancer take the stage. Every step, every shimmer, every veil in motion felt like home. It was as if my soul recognized every movement before my mind could name it. I cried, not from sadness, but from joy, from seeing my secret love reflected in living color. When the show ended, Stephanie turned to me, smiling with that same spark of mischief. "We're not done yet," she said. Behind the theater, she introduced me to one of the performers, Yasmin, a graceful, kind woman who greeted me like an old friend. "Luna," she said, "I've heard about you. I'd love to give you a private lesson." My jaw dropped. Stephanie grinned, and, she added softly, "I have a costume for you, if you want to wear it." The next morning, I unwrapped a box that shimmered like sunrise. Inside lay the most beautiful costume I'd ever seen. Deep purples, soft magenta, coins that sang when touched, chiffon that floated like breath. Stephanie helped me get ready. Soft makeup, loose hair, a little shimmer on my eyelids. When I looked in the mirror, I froze. Because for the first time, I didn't just see myself. I recognized myself. The person in the mirror wasn't hiding. She was radiant. She was alive. She was Luna. In that private lesson, Yasmin guided me through movements I thought I already knew. But this time, something was different. I wasn't just moving to music. I was becoming the music. The scarf chimed softly. The fabric floated around me like a whisper. And every step felt like reclaiming a piece of my soul. When the song ended, the room filled with applause from Yasmin, from Stephanie, and from somewhere deeper, from that 16-year-old me who had once watched in awe, too afraid to even imagine this moment. Later that night, still in costume, I sat quietly, tears in my eyes, but peace in my heart. "Thank you," I told Stephanie, "not just for today, but for helping me meet myself." She smiled and said, "This isn't the end, Luna. This is your beginning." And she was right, because transformation doesn't always happen in grand moments. Sometimes it begins with a single dance, a rhythm brave enough to set you free. Today, I still dance, sometimes in full costume, sometimes in pajamas with a scarf tied at my hips, sometimes alone, sometimes with Stephanie watching. But now I don't dance in secret. I dance in celebration of the woman I found, of the courage it took to stop hiding, of the beauty in simply being me. Me, sitting on my bed, still in my costume, sequins glinting in the soft light, feeling more myself than I ever had in my entire life. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my reflection again. Not the version I'd hidden, but the version I'd finally allowed to breathe. I kept thinking, now what? The next few weeks were a strange mix of euphoria and fear. I danced every day, sometimes alone, sometimes with Stephanie, watching from the couch, smiling like she could see right into my soul. But outside that little bubble, I still felt the world pressing in. How do you explain to people that a silk scarf around your hips makes you feel alive? That shimmer and rhythm are not performances, but prayers. I started recording myself dancing, not to post, just to witness myself, to see if what I felt on the inside looked as real on the outside. And the truth was, it did. For the first time, the person in the video felt like me, soft, powerful, free. A month later, Yasmin invited me to one of her group classes. It terrified me. I'd never danced in front of anyone except Stephanie and my reflection. Come, yeah, I almost turned back at the door, but then I saw them, people of every shape, color, and age. Some in sparkly costumes, some in yoga pants and t-shirts. Every single one smiling, alive, radiant. When the music began, something inside me broke open again. The rhythm wasn't just sound, it was heartbeat, pulse, connection. For the first few minutes, I tried to copy Yasmin's moves exactly, but then I stopped thinking. My body remembered. My hips began to find their own rhythm. My arms found the air, and for the first time ever, I wasn't dancing alone. When the song ended, everyone clapped, not for me, not for any one person, but for the moment, for the energy we'd created together. And that's when it hit me. I'd spent so many years dancing in darkness, hiding what made me light. But maybe, just maybe, my light could belong in the open. A few days later, Yasmin pulled me aside after class. "You have something rare," she said softly. "When you dance, it's not about steps. It's about honesty. Have you ever thought about performing?" My heart stopped. Perform? On a stage? In front of people? Every part of me screamed no. But another part, small, trembling, defiant, whispered, "Why not?" Yasmin smiled like she could hear that whisper. "No pressure. Just think about it." I did think about it. For weeks. And slowly, the idea started to bloom. What if I could show the world the person I've been hiding for so long? What if I could exist, not as a secret, but as a celebration? Stephanie encouraged me every step of the way. She helped me create playlists, design costumes, and practice routines late at night when the world outside felt quiet enough to hold my dreams. There were moments of doubt, lots of them. Sometimes I'd stare at my reflection and whisper, "Who am I kidding? I don't belong on a stage." But then I'd move. Just a simple hip circle, a wave of my arms, and that truth would rise up again. This is who I am. This is how I speak. 3 months later, I stood backstage for my first ever performance. It was a small cultural showcase, nothing fancy, maybe 50 people in the audience. But to me, it felt like the entire universe was watching. Every movement was a memory. The first time I'd tied a scarf around my hips. The first time I'd looked in a mirror and seen Luna. The first time Stephanie had told me, "You look like yourself." When the music faded, there was silence. The kind of silence that feels full, not empty. Then applause, loud and thunderous. I smiled so hard it hurt, because for the first time, I wasn't hiding from my reflection. I was reflecting light. After that night, everything changed. I began to post small clips of my dances online, shyly at first, but the response was overwhelming. People messaged me saying, "Your story feels like mine." Some said they'd always wanted to dance, but never dared. Others said seeing me move made them feel less alone in their own bodies. And that's when I realized this was never just about me. It was about us. Everyone who's ever looked in a mirror and wondered, what if the person inside me could breathe? Now, years later, I still dance, but not in secret, and never just for the mirror. I dance for the ones still hiding in their rooms, afraid to take that first step. I dance for every heart that beats in rhythm with a truth too beautiful to be silenced. And I dance for the 16-year-old me, the one who dared to feel something she didn't yet understand. If you're watching this, maybe you're somewhere in that journey too. Maybe you haven't told anyone who you really are yet. Maybe your dance isn't movement at all. Maybe it's makeup, fashion, voice, art, or simply the courage to wear what makes you feel right. Whatever it is, don't bury it in the dark. Because one day, that hidden love might just be the light that saves you. Unfortunately, before you go, hit that subscribe button and join our beautiful Gender Diary family. Tell me in the comments what your secret dance is, that one thing that makes you feel alive. Because remember, love, your truth is not too much. Your softness is not a weakness, and your story deserves to be seen. Until next time, keep discovering, keep transforming, and always, always keep dancing.